Welcome to Kettlebell Corner, where strength meets theory, where we take you on a deeper dive into all things kettlebells. And it's that time of year again, Roger, that magical date where if you start today, you're going to do everything you've ever wanted to do and achieve every goal you've ever wanted. But you must wait until today. You know what day that is, Roger? New Year's or Monday or next month or next week. I think the date might be obligatory, but because of this time of year, we're going to say New Year's. Roger,
Sure.
how you doing?
I'm good. I'm motivated to make all these positive changes.
You're so motivated. It's motivating me even. But I got this problem, Roger, and I've got to wait to start until it's right. Everything's got to be right. And we're going to cover why those two things might be a problem for you. But let's start with waiting to start. Are you going to talk with motivation? Is that what people's main hang up for getting started is?
No, but we should probably tell people what it is we're talking about rather than just making fun of them.
Okay.
We're today.
I guess this time.
Today we're talking about the idea of making changes, making life changes, making fitness changes. It's common when we have a new year. We've got the New Year's resolutions, and people it's the holidays are over. I'm going to make some positive changes. This year's going to be different. That's the general idea we're talking about today. And we don't want to be demotivating. We don't want to leave you, whoever you are, with the impression that you can't make changes. What we do want to do is give you some background, give you some insight, a peek behind the curtain, based on two strength coaches and trainers who have done this for a long, long time, and talk about some common pitfalls. What is it that you really need in order to make changes? We can get into some of those things, and maybe this will be another episode if people are really interested. But we want to go over some problems that people have. And I think first and foremost, there's an assumption here. If you're interested in this idea of the new year, we want to talk about some things that may be getting in your way, some obstacles, and I think that there are a couple big ones. So I think that sets it up. Yes.
Yeah, I'd say so. I would say that this is the spot for you. Okay. And let's start with the first thing, Roger. The fact that I mentioned it, that people like to start on the new year or the first day or whatever it is. But the reality is that there is no magic time. There is no magic day. There is only the very first step, which is action. And whatever that is, how small or how big. Is there any guidelines for this particular thing that you like to suggest?
Guidelines, no, just start. But it's not always that easy. When you have problems that you want to solve, it's not usually a gap in knowledge. It's a gap in execution, or it's a gap in this case, your underlying psyche. There's a problem when you have this sort of thinking that there's got to be an ideal scenario, an ideal time, an ideal place. I'm going to wait till things calm down. I'm going to wait. That could be for a variety of reasons, but there usually is this. It's a misguided view on what success and failure are. And there's a subset of assumptions and behaviors that go with this, but the idea is I'm not going to do this now because this is going to get in my way. Usually what it comes down to is people are looking for excuses. They're creating excuses. They're creating these roadblocks, and they want things to be just so. I'm not suggesting that it's a good idea if you're going through, all kinds of, tumultuous personal stuff, that you should begin a new fitness routine, unless it's just going for a walk, because that could be exactly what you need to do. But I am suggesting that most of the things that you think are stopping you are not in fact stopping you. And by waiting, you are intentionally keeping yourself from succeeding. You're intentionally keeping yourself from achieving your goal. And, sometimes the reset is, okay, I've screwed up in the past. This is different. Last year didn't go the way I wanted it to. Maybe you were right here, same time or same place, last year didn't go the way you wanted. Now let's reset. Now let's talk about next year. And it's as though what you did before doesn't matter and you're absolved of your sins, you're forgiven, and now you can move forward. And there are some issues with that. So one is waiting to start is keeping you from achieving what you want to achieve, because there never is the perfect time. And if you are using that as an excuse, then as soon as things start to get tough, you're going to stop because it has to be the right time. Oh, let me hold off now. um this version of waiting to start has all kinds of different versions. I've met with clients over the year, or prospective clients, like, oh, I'm going to come do some sessions with you, but I want to wait until I'm in better shape.
Yeah, I love that one. I'm gonna get in shape first, and then that way I'm not wasting my money. And it's like, well, okay. Oh, another one is, no, no, I know what to do, so I'm gonna do it, and then I'll check in with you if I can't figure it out, and then you're ghosted. All
Sure.
those years in the gym, you see it.
Yeah, and sometimes trying, for the people who really do try and learn and move forward, those people are great. I have worked with people in the past who are really, they're really self-directed, and that happens. But generally speaking, these people are coming up with reasons why they can't succeed, and they're going to continue to do that. So time just happens to be the excuse you're using right now. This time of year happens to be the magical reset button. But as soon as things get tough, you're going to have issues. Now, by extension, there's also this other issue of perfectionism.
Hmm.
And when you have kind of a perfectionist mindset, you tend to characterize yourself, your behaviors, foods you eat, things you do, as either good or bad. And that's not a that's not a good recipe for success.
It's
You
too simple, too much one way or too much another that could derail you or stop progress in its track or prevent you from
Yeah.
actually getting started.
Yeah, we tend to be too polarized. We tend to be too extreme just as a culture. And
Hmm.
and I think that's a problem. As a world, we tend to gravitate toward one side or the other. And the reality is, many people who are elite with their fitness have foods that are not considered healthy every now and then, but they manage them and they work them into their routine, so it's not an issue. So it's not the food that's good or bad. It's the amount, it's the timing, it's the control or lack of control.
Yeah, the balance isn't set up correctly where
Sure.
you're overweight on the or well, I shouldn't say bad foods, but the foods that are less than ideal towards whatever your goal might be, as opposed to what might actually
Sure.
make progress.
So, these people, these clients, these individuals I've interacted with, let's say we'll set an intention and, like, all right, I'm going to get to it on Monday. Okay, cool. Monday's great. So I'll leave them alone on Monday. I'll leave them alone on Tuesday. Check in Wednesday. How's everything going? Man, didn't go well. Well, what happened? I don't know. It just didn't happen. Okay, well, it's the middle of the day. Do you work late tonight? No. Okay, well, why don't you go home and go for a walk? No, I'm gonna get to it, Monday. I'm gonna do X, Y, and Z, and then Monday I'm gonna start again.
Yeah,
And
I'm gonna retry again.
sure. And this happens, this you can get into a loop. And I've interacted with people who have been stuck in this loop for years. The problem is they have this perfectionist mindset, this all or nothing. So I'm doing really well, and maybe they're really on top of it for 2-3 weeks, and then they're too rigid with their behaviors. And then they go to a birthday party, they have a piece of birthday cake, and then maybe that cake leads to a couple extra
Three
beers,
more pieces of cake.
could be some junk food. And then, rather than looking at this as information, right, rather than just saying, hey, I clearly needed to do some of this stuff, or at least wanted to do some of this stuff, what's going on, they chalk it up to failure. They become hypercritical. I'm useless. I'm a failure. This is never going to work. Why am I even trying? And then the rest of however long becomes a binge or a spiral that's out of control, until another Monday or another beginning of the month or another year comes along, and all of a sudden they're ready to try again. So you want to think about this idea of perfectionism or all or nothing, because it's not the way that people who succeed do these things. And that's it's a very important point. So if there's something that you think, hey, I want to start a fitness routine, go for a walk. Go drop and do 5 push-ups, do 5 squats, do something. Start right now. Not next week, not later. If you're coming up with reasons why you can't start with now, you are not going to change.
Yeah. And it does have, it can be that simple. I think, and you alluded to it, that maybe it's society as a whole, the world the way it is today, where it's got to be this extreme. You can't go and do, I can't start because I'm not able to do 5 miles, or I'm not able to do 100 swings, or I'm not even able to do 5 push-ups. You start to have this limiting belief that sets in, which ultimately becomes your roadblock, when in reality, maybe it is 1 push-up, maybe it's a walk around the block, maybe it's sit and stand from your chair 10 times, and
Hmm.
barrier to entry, and like allowing yourself to have that moment as a win, as opposed to, discounting it, I should say.
Well, there's another side of this too, which is a trap that you can fall into. Is sometimes people don't do enough. Sometimes people
Mm.
commit to this new plan and they hear advice like that, like, oh, I could just walk to the mailbox.
Mhm.
So that's what they do. Every day they walk to the mailbox. How's your fitness routine? Oh man, it's fantastic. Well, are you making any changes? No, but I'm doing it every day. Okay, well, what are you doing? I'm walking to the mailbox. Well, maybe that's not enough.
Yeah.
Maybe you just heard half of the advice. Maybe you just heard like, hey, just do this. But this is a means to get a simple win as opposed to the end product. And sometimes people need to do more in order to get into it, in order to get inspired and feel like, hey, I can do this. And you need to do things. And then sometimes though, the other end of this is that people will go too hard and they'll be impatient and they start off, they throw everything they can at it, and January 4th they're already injured and they're not able to work out normally until March 17th, and that's it. I'll see you next year.
Yeah. Gonna chalk it up. Oh, this was a bust. Kettlebells hurt my back. I'm out of here.
Sure, sure. So,
So
we have some corollaries with this behavior, but we don't want to wait. If you're in a place where you're thinking you're going to wait, and if you have waited, then there's some stuff that you gotta think about. You got to figure out whether or not you believe you can do this, and seek information, or plan a little bit better. Figure out what it is you need to do to make this happen. But if you're putting it off, or if you're falling into this all or nothing thinking, then there's something going on, and you got to figure out what that is.
yeah, and if all else fails, do it first when you wake up. Just do it right then, because then nothing else gets in the way of it. I think that is probably, when it comes down to it, one of the things, at least I'll know for myself. I'll speak for myself, and I'll speak for countless others as well, because I've worked with them and I've seen this happen. If you're setting yourself up, I'll do this afternoon, and then you have a wild day. Maybe your kids are doing something crazy, or your cat has a cone on its head or something, and you're not able to do any of these things. And then you're like, oh, I didn't get to it today. I'm not going to do it. And then that spiral can sort of begin to develop from there. Whereas if you simply, and I know we'll get to some sleep and those sort of aspects, but kind of lining it up to where you're up a half hour early and you're like, okay, I can do this. I can do this walk before I go to work. And now I'm started. I've done something, sort of thing.
Sure. And something to point out is waiting until the end of the day is a version of this waiting for the right time. Now, it may be that this is your time to work out, and you're going to work out then, and you're going to be fine with your schedule. But for many people, and again, this is over 20 years of experience and working with a lot of people, many people who decide to work out in the evening do that because they know something's going to get in the way. And the
An
success
easy
rates.
cop out.
Yep. The majority of people who exercise in the evening that I've worked with and I've known about, they are far more likely to miss workouts. They're far more likely to let things get in the way. That doesn't, again, I've also known people who go to the gym like clockwork, 11 p.m. and nothing gets in their way and they love it. It's a different animal. But
Yeah.
there is a version that, hey, let's wait until the right time here. And that can be a problem as well.
All
So
right. So
go
go
ahead.
ahead. Well, I was just going to say, so if you've tried and tried again and you can't get there, you had mentioned reframing failure. So how can we reframe this failure so that we aren't piling on ourselves or limiting ourselves to not start, to have this problem or have this overwhelm, perfectionism keep us from even making imperfect action?
Failure is information. It's difficult sometimes for some people to look at it that way. And sometimes failure is more painful than people can tolerate. And that's a different issue. That's, you're listening to the wrong podcast. You shouldn't be listening to us talk about fitness and kettlebells. You should be figuring out
Some
why.
psychology.
Yeah, you should be figuring out why is you not being perfect so hard to deal with. And I genuinely mean that. If this is you, go figure that out. If you are hiding from activity because you're afraid to fail, these are, these are different things that you've got to work through, and you're not in the right place. But the idea of failure is as information is very powerful. It's very valuable. If you look at, you know the way a lot of things work, when you break things down, they're binary. It's one or it's the other. So you tried a thing and the thing didn't work. Cool. Now I know one thing that doesn't work. And let's say there's a spectrum of 10 potential possibilities. Well, I just have 8 more times to fail, and then I'm going to happen on the right thing. Right. And that is the ideal way to look at it, but it's not always that easy. Sometimes we get in our way, we get hypercritical. But if you can go into something with an actual plan, there's a difference between a plan and an idea, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But if you go into it with a plan and you execute this plan and you fail, then you now have information that you can pull apart and say, well, why did I fail? Let's say we're talking about exercise. Oh, well, I planned on working out in the evening, but every time I do that, something happens, my kid's sick, my dog needs new glasses, whatever it is, you got stuff going on. Well, hey, how about we either figure out, we find time, maybe in the afternoon. I do have some people who have been able to get to the gym on their lunch hour, or maybe it's the morning time where you're more likely to have less go wrong. So that's a way, that's a way to look at this information, and then you can move forward. But if you aren't going to the gym at all, if you're not exercising at all, and you're not thinking about it, then there's no information. You don't have any information. Even if you say, you know what, I'm just not thinking about it. I keep forgetting. Okay, well, what about a sticky note? Oh, okay, let's try that. Hey, how'd the sticky
Right.
note go? Yeah, I ignored it. Okay, well, it's not that. So the reminder is not the thing, right? What is the thing? So when you try something, however silly it might seem, and you fail at it, we now have a piece of information that we can use to move towards success. And that is, in my opinion, the way you should be thinking about failure, rather than, letting it inform you. It just, there are people who are successful long term fail a lot. They're not just perfect. You don't go in there and get everything right away. It took us a long time to figure out how to do basic kettlebell stuff.
Yeah. And it's taking longer to learn more advanced stuff. It's like the Thomas Edison thing, right? He's I'm gonna try all these different ways to make a light bulb, and I might, what do you say? I'm failing 10,000 times just to get it right once.
Yeah,
And
I never know if any of those quotes are
I
bullshit or
well,
not.
I'm friends with him, so
Okay,
it's pretty
ask him
true.
for me. Yeah, ask
Yeah.
him. Ask
Well,
him.
I have been to, I happen to be out of my normal location, and I am in a town where Thomas Edison's workshop is actually at, and they represent it there. So I'll just take it for that.
Okay, but
So,
looking at failure as information is very, very, very valuable. But again, you have to implement things. So I mentioned a second ago the difference between a plan and an idea. I've worked with clients for a long time, over 20 years, and these are people who can afford to pay me. Okay. So they're many,
Imagine
if
that.
not most of them have done well and are successful in work and business. When you watch them, when they need to interrupt a session to take a phone call, and you see how polite and professional they are, and you see them pulling up their calendars like, oh, I can do 3:15 on June 15th 2030. Like their schedule is tight, right? Yet when you have a conversation with these same clients, like, oh, well, you're not happy with what's going. Yeah, I think I need to do cardio. It's like, well, we already talked. I don't think it's cardio, but if you want to do cardio, cool. When are you going to do your cardio? I don't know, a couple times a week. So in one situation, they have every second of their day scheduled. And when it comes to how they take care of their business, they would never leave things to chance. They will put it in a schedule. They'll send an email. Sometimes they'll call an assistant and they'll say, hey, make sure I'm at this meeting. But when it comes to cardio, it's like a couple times a week. Okay, well, which
Yeah.
days? I don't know. Maybe Monday, Wednesday,
Yeah.
Friday. That sounds right. Well, are you busy those days? I don't know. I got to check. Okay, well, what time?
Right.
Oh, I'll get maybe in the morning, maybe in the evening. Okay, so maybe one of these days in this 7-day period, you might find some time either in the morning or in the evening or in the middle of the day. This does not sound like a plan. This sounds like an idea. The idea is,
Yeah.
I should do more cardio. That's a good idea,
Great
but that's
idea.
not a plan. If it doesn't,
Oh,
it's not a plan if it doesn't live in your lifestyle somehow, right? If it doesn't exist in your calendar. Me, I'm up obscenely early, so I can always put anything that's important to me in a block of time. I will be up at 3 a.m. and I will work. I'll do what I need to do. So if it's writing, if it's thinking about a podcast topic, if it's exercising for a certification, I have a block of time that is perpetually reserved for things I need to do. So that's really easy for me. But if you don't have that, then you don't have a plan. You've got an idea and you need to figure out, okay, I want to do my cardio. I think that's going to be helpful. Cool. When is it going to live? Where is it going to live? How long are you going to do it? Do you have access to the things you need? Let's talk about eating ahead of time. Can you do it faster or do you need to be fed? Sometimes it goes one way, sometimes it goes the other. What about hydration? What's that going to do to your long-term appetite? If you do it during the day, are you going to be ravenous during dinner? If so, let's make sure we have a post-cardio snack. Like, these are questions that you ask, even if you just start with a stupid, not a very detailed plan. It's like, well, I'm going to do it on Monday and Wednesday. Cool. That's all you need to execute. How'd your cardio go? Man, I was so hungry for dinner. I ate like an asshole. Okay.
yeah.
How about a snack? But because somebody actually complied with the terms of the plan, then we start to get a more complex plan, and we start getting more and more information rather than, hey, are you doing your cardio? Sometimes. Like, I've got nothing there. You can't make adjustments.
Yeah. There's no way to say, okay, this can make it better if you do X, Y, or Z, or provide that professional guidance. And when it comes to that, it's sort of like people that find the time for their job, they attach it most likely to some sort of monetary compensation. But there's another old saying, Roger, and this came from God himself, okay, or herself. I don't know. I haven't met the entity, but they say, if you don't have your health, how are you going to make that wealth? So if you're not prioritizing this health, and ultimately you could be laying there all laid up someday down the line and be like, man, I sure wish I would have done that cardio, and then at least figured out that I eat like an asshole after I do a bunch of cardio. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And have this sort of way. So I think if Roger, he's being polite, but I think he would say, quit being a jerk and just set the plan and show up for the plan, just as if you would for your meeting. It's a meeting. It's a time that you have given to yourself. Because, hey, how are you supposed to serve anybody else that you're working with if you can't even, take care of yourself? That's a call out right there, Roger. So if you're listening to this, and you look in my eyes. If you can't take care of yourself, you can't take care of nobody else. So get out there and learn how to swing.
All right. Simmer down. But
Okay.
this is, again, this is you have the plan, and then you use the failure in order to figure out how to succeed. And the most of the time, honestly, the stuff that gets in the way is just it's the stupid mental stuff.
Yeah.
Discipline has a place. The discipline, willpower, all of these things. These are interesting terms, and some of this stuff has been studied, and a lot of people, there's the newer movement, the younger folks. I see this a lot with the millennials. Everyone wants to be a stoic. Of course, no one
Mm.
wants to read the actual books. They
Yeah.
just want to
Try
read
reading it. Oh, journal.
but
That's the thing. If you don't do that, you're not actually a practicing stoic. So get on it, bud.
yeah. But in this culture, it's like suck it up and try harder and do better, and it's all about effort. And it has its place when it's day one and you've decided that you're going to do your cardio Monday morning at 6 a.m. and you usually wake up at 7 a.m. it I get it. It's going to be tough to not go right back to sleep. And that's where we use our willpower and our discipline. But it's a small window. It does not last very long that you don't enjoy this. Um, I've never had a situation where people have stuck with something where it didn't just become a habit that they enjoyed.
Yeah.
There's a
And you
time I didn't
notice,
walk. Go ahead.
yeah. Oh, and that's the thing. If it becomes a habit you enjoy, or you start to notice that you're completely different, your attitude is sort of dumpy if you didn't do said exercise or something like that. And then that should be a signal, and that's more information too, to be like, oh, I am doing the right thing, and I do need to make sure I continue on this. And it's something that you may experience.
Sure.
And
So
if you can't get out of bed and you say you're a stoic, you better read that Marcus Aurelius, because he said, I don't deserve to be in bed. I don't deserve to be here huddled in my warmth and comfort. I must go to the battle lines as a leader.
is that
But
is
you
that
didn't
what he
read
said?
that, did you? Yeah,
Are you
I
guys?
paraphrased it. I paraphrased it because I'm not some what do they call the uh, philosophy scholar. I just read the stuff and try to apply it to my life, Roger.
Were you friends with him too? You and
Yeah.
Marcus Aurelius and Edison
No,
hanging
so
out?
no. I just I haven't been to his workshop yet.
Okay. But this is an interesting, the idea of discipline and willpower, is interesting. And we were talking a little bit before we started on this idea of motivation. And that's something else that people are, they'll come to me like, oh, I'm just not motivated. I'm like, I don't care. Like
Yeah,
motivation is not the feeling of wanting to do something. Human beings are not designed to want to exercise. Now, we might understand that, hey, it feels good when we do, and I want the benefits, but we're designed to be lazy. So,
yeah. Conserve
if
calories.
yeah, you might know better and say, oh, a workout could be fun right now, but that shouldn't be the norm. That's not how most people work. So you're not gonna whatever motivation you're gonna have is gonna be short lived. So don't look at motivation as the feeling of wanting to go do something. I grew up with 80s movies where everything was a montage. You're really bad at something, and then you got all the clips and the one-handed push-ups and the meditation and the eating the
Hmm.
raw eggs and all that stuff.
I
But
love it.
but the motivation is the reason why you do stuff you don't want to do. And that explains why you have people who are really successful in business but not successful in fitness, because they are properly motivated by the money or the success or feeding their families or whatever it is. So even when they don't feel like, going to the meeting or meeting a new client or whatever it happens to be, even though they don't want to do those things, they do them because they're sufficiently motivated. And this is what you need to figure out with fitness. Motivation is not that oh, I can't wait to do this. It's the reason you do it even though you don't want to. So it's day one. I agreed to do my cardio at 6 a.m. Figure out why you're doing this. Whether it's, hey, I don't want my partner to turn off the lights when we have sex.
Oh,
That's one that I actually got. I was like, okay,
okay.
that's a lot.
Well, hey,
That's okay.
it's a motivating factor.
Yeah. Whether it's, hey, I want to be around for my kids. I want to feel better in my body. I'm getting passed over. I'm not getting promotions. People aren't taking me seriously. I'm tired of people asking me to play Santa Claus around the holidays. Like whatever it is, like find your motivation, and
Yeah.
that's the reason why you're doing the stuff you don't want to do.
Yeah, and you can write it down and put it on a bulletin board of sorts, and that way you know.
Well,
Well,
hold on. This is an
okay.
interesting this is an interesting aside, and we didn't even think about this, but I do want to talk about this real quick. There is a trap right now, and this is big business, where you have people who are selling these planners right now and vision
Mm,
boards and bulletin boards
mm,
and all of this
hmm.
horse shit. And I'm
Oh,
calling it horse shit because most of it's horse shit. And it doesn't mean that it doesn't work, but most of the time it doesn't. And the reason why it doesn't work most of the time is you are spending all of your time, attention, and energy setting up to do the thing and not doing the thing. You are
yeah.
structuring your life to be successful, but you're never going out and actually being successful. So if you want to put it on a bulletin board, put it on a bulletin board. If you want to tattoo it on your forehead, that's totally cool. But it's probably not going to make the difference between you executing this behavior and not executing this behavior. If it's
Yeah.
helpful, great. But don't waste, and I mean waste, a lot of time planning excessively and then not doing the stuff. If you start doing the stuff and you realize that you need to refine your plan, that's where this stuff comes in.
And that's what a plan is all about, is to be refined as you go along
Yep.
because, yeah, things are going to come up along the way that doesn't work. Gain some clarity and get started and then refine that clarity, shine it up a little bit, get
Yep.
some of the rust off of it, and you'll go a lot farther. And Roger, would you be sad if I said I did a vision board just today?
No,
Okay. All right. All right. Because I
I
did.
haven't. And I've known you for a long time, and I know the things that you've done, and many of them have helped you. And you and I have also had conversations with some of these things like, hey, I need you to pull your head out of your ass and stop wasting your time planning stuff and let's do it. And you're like,
Yes,
yeah,
right.
you're right.
Yes, right. So
And
it's
that,
just
that
do it. Nike came up with that for a reason, folks.
that might be verbatim. That might be verbatim one of the conversations we had, because we have really, really honest conversations with one another that are helpful.
Yeah.
But I do think that these things can be helpful, especially when you use them and you execute them, but you execute. And
Yeah.
that's really, really key. I've seen in the time I've known you so many substantial changes to every aspect of you that have been positive. So if doing a vision board is part of the process, then that's great because you're doing it. But many people will do the vision board and then they'll be exhausted and they'll need to watch TV and have some Cheetos until they have some energy to go work out. And then, oh wait, it's too late. So
Yeah.
they've got these this great vision board. They've got the right gold pen and the right photos. And oh, hey, look at this paper and look at these
Ooh, it's
pins. These are
amazing.
great. And then where
Yeah.
am I going to hang it? But again, that's where the effort stops.
Yeah. And I think, well, just on the vision board thing, a lot of times I feel like I didn't do them for a long time and I just did them for the past, this is only my second one, Roger. And the only reason I took a chance on it last year and I just put the clear things that I wanted to focus on. I knew process wise would get me to where I wanted to be. And a few reminders. They were just reminders. So when and you know I'm guilty of this, Roger, where I will spin off and I'll be like, oh, let's do this. Oh, let's do that. I'm like a big idea guy. I'm like, oh, let's do that. And in reality, it's like, no, just do this, do this, do this. If the marathon is a perfect example because there's no way you complete the marathon if you don't start doing the miles over time and getting there. I mean, at least for me, anyways. Some wackadoos do it, but they're probably in their 20s and not listening to this, thinking we're old men. But it was reminder of the clear objectives that I was trying to do. It was a reminder to show up like, hey, you're showing up for this reason. There was, I guess, motivation, but more of a reminder. But these are just things. It's not a vision board of like, oh, I've got to have this body because that guy is cool, or I need to have a giant house because that is cool. It's things like effort and energy, environment, imperfect action, figuring shit out, and stuff like that. Now, Roger, you know as well as I know, this is a good thing to get started and everything. But if you haven't done anything since your high school football days, and you think you're gonna go squat that 225 like you did as a scrawny, skinny string bean football player back in those said 80s, well, you're mistaken. And the cool thing about clarity and starting where you're at now, as opposed to starting where you are, is you can simplify things with kettlebells. But Roger, why is it important, or how can we identify where we should start if we're not trying to start from where we were back in whenever day?
How should we identify where to start? That's a, I guess there's got to be some trial and error. Um, I think the main conversation that people need to have with themselves is acknowledging where they are, um, and reconciling themselves with that reality. Because many people will not, they will not acknowledge it. So it's like, I used to be able to do this. I used to be able to lift this weight. So they go to the gym. They haven't been there for, a year and a half, and that's the weight they put on the bar. It doesn't work. They get discouraged. They get hurt. Um, that's I think the main conversation you need to have with yourself, is acknowledging that. Now you can do a variety of fitness tests if that's what you really feel like you need to do. But this is goal specific stuff. Hey, I remember back when I was when I was playing football, I could bench press 300 pounds. Okay. The test is not, hey, let me put 300 pounds on the bar and let's see what happens. Can I do a
You
push up?
die. Yeah.
Can I do a push up? Nope. Okay. That's where we start.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, then
Let's
300
start.
is out of the question.
Let's start. Okay. We'll bring you to the bench. We'll get you on the bar, but let's start you really light. Let's pick up that bar and see how it feels. And then we'll put some plates on it, et cetera, et cetera. This is not that hard to do if you have an honest appraisal of what your abilities are. And we've got some other episodes on this. A lot of the things we talked about programming, that's probably something good to link under this.
Hmm.
But the people will fall into the trap of doing too much or not enough. That's really common. But your goal is minimum effective dose. What can I do that moves me toward this goal, a little bit at a time, and helps me stay progressing without overdoing it or injuring myself. So the idea of knowing where to start, you're not going to know where to start. You're gonna get out there, and if your goal is to run a marathon, try to run a mile. Try to run a mile. See what
Yeah.
happens. You get your first 400 meters in, and you're already sucking wind. Okay, take the notes, right? What's the problem? Is it my legs? Is it my lungs? This didn't go as well as I thought it would. You're thinking, oh, I wonder what my time's going to be. There's no time. You didn't even finish.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's cool. Take the notes, figure out what the issue is, and then go back and say, okay, well, I executed on my plan to test where I am, to see how much I should run. I think I better walk for a little while. I'm gonna do a substantial amount of walking, and then maybe I'm gonna do like a run walk sort of thing. So 400 meters was really rough. And just for the record, I know nothing about running. So
Yeah.
I'm just being logical and giving you an example of how you might think about this stuff. Go become a student of what it is you want to learn, and watch those podcasts. But
Start
you
with
know,
body weight get ups, is what he's saying. Okay.
um, you might want to walk for a bit, and you ran 400 meters and we're sucking wind, so maybe you run 100 and then you
Yeah.
walk, then you run 100 and then you walk, and then when that gets easier, maybe you go 150 or 2. Right.
Yeah.
And be aware when you are starting something new, the first couple months of your growth, whatever it is usually neurological. So there's going to be an outside, it's not going to look like a, when you look at the curve of your progress over the whole, let's say, year, or however, whatever the lifespan is of this goal, you're going to get a really sharp spike right in the beginning, and then it's going to plateau for quite a while. It's and then it's going to go up again gradually. But keep in mind that you don't want to be too conservative. If going back to this example, let's say you run 400 meters and you're really having a hard time, and then you start, okay, I'm going to run 100 and then walk, and then I'm going to start doing my miles that way. Don't say, oh well, he told me I should probably be conservative, and you're doing this for a month. Like, no, you're probably looking at 1 or 2 workouts, and then the amount that you can run comfortably is going to at least double. And my guess is within a first couple weeks, you'll be able to get your first mile, and then you can start you then you can start planning your training a little bit better. But once you hone your technique, once you start establishing the habit, then you can get into training. I actually was just talking with someone the other day who's just gotten into kettlebells not that long ago. And something that I said to him and that I remind people is the beginning of this is learning technique. As you learn technique, you will get as much fitness out of this as you're going to get out of this. By the time you have your technique down, that's when it's time to really start following a program. But in the early days of whatever it is, don't get hurt and learn how to be consistent. Your fitness will come along with these technique improvements and these consistency improvements. And then once your technique is down and you're consistent, then we can start really talking about a program. But before then, we don't need that. And this is another common, New Year's thing. Like, hey, try my program. 8 million
Get
people have been
shredded.
successful, and it's guaranteed, and all of this stuff. It's like now you've got all this pressure to do a program that you don't know that you can do.
Yeah, and we talk about that, and maybe I'll just put together a little episode series where you can just follow along after this one, this next step, and that step, thinking out loud, anyways. And I will say this: the technique aspect, especially with kettlebells, is the way to go. Now, as somebody who's very well versed in hard style, I have since started learning sports style, and guess what? My weights are significantly lighter in sports style than they are in hard style, only because I don't know the technique well enough yet. And so what I did for the first 2 months is it didn't matter that I wasn't getting several minutes of work under the bells in a row for X amount of reps. It mattered to me. I was learning how to breathe through these things. I'm learning how to execute these movements in an entirely different way than I've been doing for the past 10 years or whatever. So there's value to that. And then only once you get that technique, like Roger mentioned, then you add weight. And then all of a sudden fitness starts to happen. And you're letting the time sort of begin to train you. The time you've been doing things begins to add up and compound and get you
Yeah.
there.
And that's when you get specific. That's when you can specialize. And that's when your program really matters. Before then, you can do just about anything and you're going to change.
It's true. All right, Roger, we have something here, and I'm hoping you wrote it. But if the AI suggested this title to you, then you tell me otherwise. But it's the non-negotiable triangle. Is that you?
I don't remember even seeing that on the page.
It's on there. It's there. Okay. All right.
That sounds filthy.
All right. Does this need 3 people, 2 people, 1 people? I'm not quite
I don't
sure.
know.
But hey, if you film it, somebody will pay for it.
I read these notes too. I had it summarized, but I don't remember seeing that.
All right. Well, fairness and all. What we have here is we have adequate stimulus, we have nutrition, we have
Oh,
recovery.
that is me.
Mhm.
That is me.
Okay,
I didn't
thank
name
you.
it that.
Okay.
I didn't name it that though. I don't know if the
What did you name
non-negotiable.
it?
I don't know. It came up with some random ass name. Okay.
I like that though, because these are non-negotiables. Well, let's elaborate. Let's start with adequate stimulus.
Okay, so
or anything you want to
yes.
say.
So I've used this analogy before when you're looking to make changes. Okay. So now you've gotten to the point where you have a goal and you've started to form a plan. It lives somewhere, or it's going to live somewhere in your calendar, and you're ready to go. And now you're like, okay, what do I need to do? There are 3 things that you need to do in order to make change to your body. One is you need to give it appropriate or adequate stimulus. So if your goal is to bench press 300 pounds and you do 1 push-up a week, you're not going to get there. That's not adequate stimulus. And I don't think I need to explain why. Conversely, if your goal is to bench press 300 pounds and you go right to putting 300 on the bar, that is also not adequate stimulus. You're going to hurt yourself. You can't do it. Your brain and body will have no experience of success, and you're going to fail. So you're looking to give your body that minimum effective dose, just enough. It needs to be appropriate for your goal. So if you are running a mile and wondering why you're not benching more, then there's not enough carryover between cardio
What if,
or you're
what if I
running
wear those wrist
and
weights?
maybe if you wear the wrist weights, if they're 80 pounds piece.
Okay.
Um, but there's not enough similarity there, obviously. So you need adequate stimulus, and that's where the workout piece really starts to come in. Now, if you're listening to this and you are interested in kettlebells, then and you're just starting off, learn technique, that will be plenty of stimulus. Otherwise, how do you know if you have adequate stimulus? You have a KPI, key performance indicator. You have something that you are measuring to see if it gets better. You're mentioning, kettlebell sport. Are you doing the same amount? Are you performing more volume with the same load? If that's the case, then things are improving. If not,
Yeah.
then you may want to consider changing your stimulus, either dialing it up or dialing it back. So that's one corner of the triangle. Another is recovery. And if you don't recover, then your body doesn't have a chance to get stronger. It's not just the workout piece, it's the I'm recovering piece. So are you hydrating? Are you getting your sleep? Are you taking time off? Are you doing sufficient volume for what you can handle? Are you feeling beat up during your workouts? If so, then you're not. And we did an episode on this not that long ago as well. You
Yeah.
might want to link that.
I'm going to link
Um,
all these. I already see, like, we've talked about these concepts in depth. So this is
sure.
just, if you're getting started, this will, if I frame you up.
So, you want to make sure that you have a reasonable amount of recovery, because if it doesn't matter uh, necessarily that you have the adequate stimulus, if you're not recovering from that stimulus, then you're going to run into problems. And even if you do get results, they're not going to be the same that you would get if you are exercising and recovering properly. And the third thing that you're going to need, the other corner of the triangle, is just going to be proper nutrition. You're going to, if let's take two scenarios: fat loss and muscle gain. So you have the right stimulus, you have the right recovery. You're trying to lose body fat, but you're taking in 2,000 calories more than you need. Guess what? It's not going to happen.
It's
Okay.
going the other way.
Yeah, it doesn't matter that you're working out. You may gain a little bit of muscle and you may feel stronger, and that's great, but you're not going to lose body fat if you are taking in calories in excess of what you need.
And
Also,
there you
if
go.
you're looking
Weight loss simplified.
if you're looking to build muscle and you're not eating any protein, if you're looking to increase your bone density, you're not giving your body the minerals and stuff that it needs, then you're going to have some problems. So you can have the right stimulus, have the right recovery, but if you're not supporting your goals nutritionally, you're going to have some problems. So those are the three those are three corners of that triangle. I don't know why they might be non-negotiable, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they seem pretty non-negotiable. What are you going to do? Not
Well, they
sleep?
are. I just don't know where the name came from. That's why when you ask me,
I
I was like,
like
I don't
that.
know.
I know. Well,
Okay.
but in the past, I've said some of these. You're like, I didn't say that. I was like, let's be sure, because I like this. I like this non-negotiable triangle.
But those are things that you need, and if one of those things is off, your body's not going to change, or it's not going to change much.
All right. Well, I think we've broached all the things that you probably should consider when starting out something. Number one, here's what's not going to save you. The new year won't save you. The new day, the new week, the month, the Monday won't save you. There is no magic in those days. Motivation won't save you, as we've spoken for in the past, and perfectionism won't save you. It's not going to be perfect. It's going to be messy, and you suck at something when you start, and then it only gets better. You just have to, have some, I guess, self compassion, use the information, and reframe what failure actually is. Failure is not starting. Failure is not adapting. Right? Okay. But what will help you is starting. Like I said, using that failure, sticking to the non-negotiable triangle. All right, Roger, that's going to be a new T-shirt.
Okay.
Okay. But maybe even more importantly, and that triangle can be a part of the bigger thing, which is plan. And I think that is something that if you take one huge thing away from this, don't just idea yourself into fitness, because it's not going to happen. You're going to need a plan, and plans are not permanent. Plans are meant to change. Plans are meant to be fluid with what you have going on in life, what you're doing, what you're experiencing with the training that you're doing, and keeping it basic. Respect the basic. That's why kettlebell it's a great fit for you to start in the sense that it's minimal to an extent. You can get a lot of results from not having to do a bunch of different things. You can get a lot of results from three things, honestly: a clean and a press and some swings. You can get a lot of results from that stuff. All right, and it can go on from there. Other than that, anything else you want to add to why somebody might be failing to start?
I actually was thinking about this earlier. I noticed on my drive home, I'm seeing people jogging, more people in the
Mm-hmm.
neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know I walk my neighborhood all the time, so I know who people are. I know what time it happens. And I'd say probably about 20% of people I saw today are newbies. And there was one couple in particular. They looked to be maybe in their mid 30s. And now I know the joggers, and the people who jog on January 1st are the same people who are jogging December 31st and December 30th, and December 29th, and yada, yada, yada. And I see these people every time I walk, which is
Yeah.
almost every day.
Yep.
They are smooth and they're comfortable. They know where they're going. They're not looking around. They're just in their zone. They're staying safe. They've got to watch the cars and all that stuff. But they're just in their groove. This one couple in particular I was watching, it was especially the guy. He's got brand new clothes. I mean, his shirt was so white it was shiny. It was almost blinding. brand new running shoes, and he
Yes.
looked frantic. Now, my guess is his wife or his partner, whoever it was, her running stuff was faded.
Yeah.
She runs. She knows what
He's like,
she's
I'm
doing.
going to
So,
join you.
yeah, so he was joining her, and he's looking around. A car's coming, and he's tapping her, and his head is swiveling left and right. He doesn't know what to do. Do you ever see that episode of Friends with Phoebe?
Well, I've
She
seen
runs
lots of
with her
episodes of Friends with Phoebe.
with her, where she ran with her arms all flailing, and anyway,
No, but
it's a good one.
I'll look
But
it up.
he did not look smooth. And that's something to keep in mind. Now, maybe this guy figures it out and maybe he settles down. But what makes you the kind of person who does these things is someone who does these things. The most important thing is to just keep showing up. As ridiculous as this guy looked, if I see him in 3-4 months and his shoes are dirty and he's looking straight ahead, he's not fiddling with the buttons on his phone to change the music because the one he's listening to right now is not quite inspiring enough.
Doesn't pump me up.
Then he's going to be good. But it really, don't underestimate the power of repetition, because again, the people who are out there running and doing their thing, I see them all the time, almost every day. And I could almost tell you, if you were to give me a clipboard, and I have no idea what these people's names are because as a policy I'm antisocial, but I would tell you who they are, roughly where they live, and what time they run or walk. So don't
sound a little bit like a stalker.
Yeah, a little bit. But don't underestimate the power of consistency, because that's really what this is all about. So for whatever you've taken from this, even if you are going about it the right way, if you continue to show up, you're probably going to figure it out eventually.
Yep. It'll happen. Just keep showing up. I can't say anything better. Roger, well done. Thank you for sharing this. And if you're having trouble getting started, well, it's probably because you haven't downloaded the Bells app yet. So get on it. Pick a workout from the premium section. You get a free trial, for crying out loud, and it's $10. More workouts you can handle in a month. And get going. There's videos for everything. So we won't leave you in the lurch. So download the Bells app. Comment what you want to learn next, what we can provide to you. And if you like and subscribe, this tells us that we're doing the right thing. All right. Anything else, Roger?
Nope.
All right.
Go
Stay strong. Okay. Yeah. I like that. Me too. Stay strong, everybody.